Hey Summoners, welcome to another ProGuides video. With the season coming so close to its end, we've decided to make a video specifically for all of you guys trying to make that final push for the next rank. Whether you're a Plat player trying to make that last push for Diamond, or a Silver player reaching for the Gold, we hope that you find this video helpful. We're going to talk about what specific changes you need to make as a player, and also some specific strategies you should try out. For our question of the day, we want to ask which map or rotating game mode you think Riot should consider bringing back or making permanent. Personally, I really hope that Nexus Blitz eventually makes a comeback. But before we get started, make sure you go to ProGuides.com if you want to see huge improvements to your rank. We upload video guides similar to this one on our website every single day. As of now, we're currently uploading a Challenger gameplay analysis guide for every single champion, so make sure to click that link below. Also, we have an exclusive coaching feature called Play with a Pro, which provides instant, on-demand, 24/7 coaching from the best of the best. Trust me guys, you don't want to miss out on this, so sign up today. Alright, with all that being said, let's jump right into it. Maining / one-tricking. First off, let's talk about what specifically is keeping you from making that final push. And no, it's not always going to be your teammates that are doing that. While it's really generic, we want to start off with what we believe is the most important piece of advice: maining or one-tricking a champion. You need to have a strong understanding of the champion you're playing. So one of the biggest ongoing debates in League is whether you should one-trick a champion or not. This is something that's subjective to each individual. What's not subjective and is instead applicable to every player though is that no matter who you play, you better know a lot about them. Yes, you can go ahead and play several champions if you like, but you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't really know the ins and outs of each character you play. This is why another piece of advice many people give out is that they should play easier champions. There's less to worry about and it's a lot more straightforward that way. If you pick Yasuo, for example, you'll probably need to think about several things, like how you'll need to set up the wave for your E, which way your opponent will juke, whether or not you'll have to use the Beyblade or Flash Q, and if your shield is up for every trade. When you pick Annie, all you need to know is whether or not you win a trade, since all it requires you to do is to press 2 buttons. There's absolutely nothing wrong with playing harder champions, especially if you've already gotten comfortable with their mechanics. The reason it's not suggested is because there can be so much variance and inconsistency when you do play them. If you're comfortable on champion already, then don't feel like you need to change it up. On the other hand, if you don't think you're able to play a mechanically difficult champion well enough, we definitely suggest switching to an easier one right now. The season's end is just around the corner, so if you need to make a switch, try to play someone who you can pick up quickly. If you're uncertain about which champions you want to invest your time into, many players find it helpful to check out a tier list. On our own YouTube channel, you'll find one we make for every patch, breaking down which champions we think are the strongest. Feel free to use those or any other tier lists you like to help guide you. Now on to our next tip, which is basically this one, but more specific. Blitzcrank. This might seem kind of silly, but we're going to say pick Blitzcrank. If you're a support player, pick Blitzcrank. If you're someone who gets auto-filled or support often, practice him first, but also pick Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is objectively an easy champion. You only have one skill shot you need to land, and there aren't any difficult mechanics you have to learn. It's exclusively running forward and using your flash and then landing your hook. Hopefully you're a good shot because you definitely have to take advantage of him. He's able to carry team fights with a single ability, while also being a terrific roaming champion. You can create gold leads for any of your laners by choosing to roam to their lanes in the early game and make game-winning picks later on. His stats are absolutely ridiculous this patch, so you should have no concern over whether or not he's strong. When you pick him, make sure to use him to his fullest potential. Go for level 1 invade if your team is equally as strong or stronger than your opponent at level 1. You have no reason not to, and you'll often be able to pick up a free kill or at least burn someone's flash. If you're feeling like a devil, you can also ward the enemy buff near you before minions spawn and try to pull it over the wall once the enemy jungler starts it. Whether you attempt to steal it by last hitting it or pull it to force a reset, you're creating a small advantage with very little commitment. There's very little reason not to go for plays like this since they can be extremely rewarding with very little risk. No matter who you play, you want to take this kind of mindset into consideration. You want to know all the things you can do with a champion to create any sort of advantage that you can. We could go on and on talking about these things, but that would probably take hours to do. Create a gold advantage, buy items, and fight. Our actual second tip is to do whatever you can to build a gold advantage. To explain why this is important, it's better to work backwards. What's the best way to carry a game? It's to win team fights. How do you win team fights? Playing well is great, but another huge factor is your items. How do you get those items? You need to find gold advantages. There's a lot of different ways to approach this, but the most common ones are to abuse wave management, use lane priority, and also to utilize a jungler. On ProGuides.com, we have a wave management course as well as a lane priority course you can check out to give you a more in-depth explanation of these. On our YouTube channel, you can also find the only minion wave management guide you'll ever need, as well as our 3 easy tips to rank up videos as well, where we talk a lot about how to effectively use a jungler and duo queue. For specific strategies this patch, we recommend picking a level 2 ganking jungler like Xin Zhao or Jarvan, or honestly anyone who can spam ganks like Zac or Vi. If you've watched our other videos, what we're about to talk about might be very familiar to you guys. Off of successful ganks, you can abuse minion wave management to set up repeat opportunities on those same lanes. This is especially true in the top and bottom lane, where the lanes are longer. If you're able to duo with someone, make sure that both of you learn about minion wave management so that you can understand how to set up a freeze. Once you can manage this, you can pick up an initial lead by having the jungler gank for their laner and continuously allow the wave to bounce back. Your opponent will have no choice but to overextend anytime they want to farm, and you can take advantage of this by repeat ganking them. The initial setup requires you to have the wave pushing towards you. You can accomplish this in side lanes by tanking the minion wave before it meets yours and then walking into the brush after you've broken their formation. Alternatively, you can push the wave into your opponent's turret, which will naturally bounce the wave back. You just have to make sure that you don't continuously auto-attack or use spells on the enemy minion wave as it's building up. There's also the possibility that the enemy laner just pushes the wave by themselves. All you need to do in that situation is try to contest the push to slow it down. This way, it's harder for them to try to 2v1 or 3v2 a gank using a stacked minion wave. Once you've built a gold lead, make sure that you spend it. Minion wave management is helpful here as well. You'll want to build slow pushes or make sure to base on cannon minion waves so that you don't miss as much when you do finally go buy your items. Finally, do your best to teamfight with your leads. Winning a teamfight is the most rewarding outcome in every game of League. This is because after you win a teamfight, you can take an objective or take the steps necessary to secure one shortly after. In a scenario where you ace the enemy team, your team has already picked up 1,500 gold from kills. There's bonus gold on top of this in the form of assists, as well as the Triumph Mastery if anyone took it. Afterwards, you can either take Baron for another 1,500 gold or push for turrets. You'll be able to earn some global gold by taking turrets and also deny minions while the enemy team is still respawning. Basically, what we're trying to say is that when you win a team fight, the reward you get doesn't just end there. You can continue to get more out of it as long as you understand how to. Split pushing is definitely still an option. It's 100% safer to do since you guarantee income, but team fights are substantially more rewarding. Ideally, you'll want to be in a position where you can confidently carry any team fight so that you can have that same guaranteed income that split pushing provides. Don't tunnel on it, however, and always choose the best option based on how your game is going. In a case where it's 50-50 though, choose team fighting. Consult a coach. If anything ever seems unclear to you or you're struggling to understand a concept, one option you have is to consult a coach. This allows you to receive instant feedback and a diagnosis of what's going wrong in your gameplay. We have a bunch of exceptional ones you can connect with on ProGuides.com. However, the only real requirement is that they're either better than you or more knowledgeable than you. Hitting up a friend who's already diamond or higher and asking them to coach you shouldn't be something you feel embarrassed about. In the case that you decide to find a coach, we do have a bit of advice. First, go in with an open mind. What this means is that remember you're asking someone to help you. They're not you and likely won't see things the same way that you do. Trying to find black and white absolute answers is not ideal and, put bluntly, wrong. If you're the type of person who has to have a yes or no answer to everything, you need to change your mindset. League is a very complex game because of its decision making. Objectively, the difficulty of even the hardest champions in League don't compare to gameplay in other genres or titles. All of its complexity comes from the flow of the game as well as having to understand the various consequences of certain choices. Having someone else speak to you about their own opinion will open you up to more perspectives and also understand other approaches to winning your games. Second, be open to criticism. This is pretty obvious since you're being coached, but it's probably the most important thing you have to do. Don't try to refute anything for the sake of pride in being right. If you're going to argue or disagree, make sure that you ask your coach to explain why they think they're right about something. Your goal is to learn, and if you're always right, what's there to learn? Third, help your coach out. If you have a general idea of what you want to focus on or know specifically where you're weak, make sure to tell them. This will help them figure out what to focus on. In the case where you're clueless, that's also something you should inform them about. Having a coach session dedicated to simply diagnosing your issues is completely viable and valuable. Fourth, take notes. One of the biggest problems with coaching is that students will just take their lessons and then change nothing. Aside from helping you retain information, taking notes allows you to have a visual reminder of what you need to be working on or fixing. With that said, we want to backtrack a little bit and talk a little bit more about gameplay. Abuse Rift Herald. Make sure that no matter what role you play, you prioritize Rift Herald. Our Challenger analysts specifically say that this alone would allow players of any rank to win more of their games. Early game Rift Heralds guarantee at least 2 plates when they crash, which provides a little more than a kill's worth of gold. If it results in taking the first turret, that's nearly 2 kills worth, not to mention the tempo advantage it'll give you. By breaking a turret or two, you accomplish 2 things. 1, you generate gold advantages, which is what we've been emphasizing this whole video. Second, you get a turret lead, and now your opponents have to take a bunch of time to push back and equalize this. While they're doing that, you have opportunities to force team fights with a numbers advantage or barrel down another lane to take even more. As a top laner, mid laner, or jungler, this should be easier since all you have to do is focus on it more. As a bot laner or support, however, the way you go about this is to either rotate early or break your first turret. You always want to make sure that you get more out of any play you make than your opponent does. This will be your guideline to help you determine if a rotation or play is worth making. If you've already taken the tier 1 turret bottom, as well as the dragon, for example, it's almost always worth it for you to rotate top. While the enemy team can trade back a turret, you take Rift Herald, which means you can potentially push for 2 at the same time. Since dragon is off the map, there's also no trade on objectives here, so that's definitely worth. Our final tip for you guys is a really important one, and that's to stop playing when you tilt or start a lose streak. Learning to deal with tilt and playing through it is a valuable skill, but one that takes a very long time to build. Anytime you assess that you're tilted or lose 3 games in a row, it's a good idea to either take a couple hours to do something else or call it quits for the day. By doing so, more of the games you'll play will be on your A game. Consistency is key in League, and if you're tilted, you'll do everything except be consistent. That concludes this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you want more content to help you improve, check out ProGuides.com, where we've teamed up with pro players to create guides designed to take your game to the next level. Also, keep an eye on our YouTube channel, where we're constantly updating with new content just like this. Good luck out there on the Rift, guys. We'll see y'all next time.